Comic books have been a very popular medium for young kids, teens, and adults for a long time. Most notably, comic books are always associated with the comics written about superheroes. My favorite comic book superhero is Batman. Batman was created by writer Bill Finger and artist Bob Kane in the 1940s. According to comicbooks.about.com, Batman is the number 3 most popular comic book character of all time. That includes all other DC characters, Marvel characters, and other independent comic characters. Batman's cultural impact stretches farther than just comic books. Due to his rising popularity, has expanded his media mediums. Several successful theatrical feature films. The most recent film, The Dark Knight, actually became the 3rd highest grossing film of all time, behind only Titanic and Avatar. Now, these Batman films starred many well-known actors. Notable actors to play Batman include Adam West, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Kevin Conroy, who was the voice of Batman in the animated series, Will Friedle, who was also a voice actor in an animated series, and currently Christian Bale in the last 2 movies, soon to be 3. Many other big-name people have taken interest in the Batman media. Director Tim Burton has directed 2 Batman films. Christopher Nolan has directed 3, one to be released in this July. And actors Mark Hamill, Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Jim Carrey, Liam Neeson, and Arnold Schwarzenegger have all played Batman villains. Ledger, Hamill, and Nicholson played the Joker. Hamill in the animated TV series, Ledger in the film The Dark Knight, made in 2008, and Nicholson played in the movie Batman in 1989. Liam Neeson played Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins, which was made in 2005, and Arnold Schwarzenegger played Mr. Freeze in Batman and Robin, made in 1997. Tommy Lee Jones played Two-Face, and Jim Carrey played the Riddler in Batman Forever, made in 1995. Now, not all the Batman films and TV series have been blockbuster hits. I mean, the 1997 movie, Batman and Robin, is ranked one of the worst superhero movies of all time. It got nominated for many Razzie Awards. Now, a Razzie Award is an award much like the Academy Awards or Oscars, but for the complete opposite. Oscars are for the good, Razzies are for the absolute worst in film. And the Adam West TV series is considered by many to be more comedic than actual serious TV, even though Adam West claims he was actually trying. But come on, Adam. We all know that was an epic fail. Alright, now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend and comic book extraordinaire, Chris, who I will be interviewing today over Skype. Chris, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure, Mike.
Alright, let's get started. Chris, you have been an avid comic book collector for 20-plus years. You review comics on YouTube on your Dark Avenger C86 account, and you are the creator of the Comic Book Community Central, or CCC. And you have been able to see the different impacts of comic books and how it has changed the way people act for the good or for the bad. Let me get your take on comic books' impact on our world as a whole first, then we will get to the specifics. So what is your take on the role comic books has played on our society morally, culturally, and economically?
Well, in general, comic books are more of a pop culture. It's a mix between, first of all, a lot of people consider comic books like the funny books. They're not books, but they're still considered literature. They're part of our pop culture. It involves a mixture of artwork and writing, and some of the stories can be about superheroes. Some of the stories can be about kids, like kids' cartoons. Some of the comic books nowadays are actually basing off of TV series like Ultimate Spider-Man, Mighty Avengers, and everything like that. There are comic books that are just like science fiction, mystery, space. They are doing Star Wars. They do tons of there's different genres. It's it's a huge impact on pop culture. It's just big on pop culture. And over the past couple of years, especially with all this new stuff and news coming around with comic books, they're actually climbing in popularity again, especially with the move straight to digital now. You could actually download your comic books straight to your computer, your iPods, or whatever. Back when it was just paper, a lot of people didn't want to take the time out to actually go to the store and buy them. But now that it's like literally at your fingertips, comic books are, the sales and the popularity is just booming, especially with the movies. Yeah, but on a moral standpoint, comic books, there are a lot of comic books have no moral whatsoever. Some of them make absolutely no sense whatsoever. Other books, you learn something after you read the entire story. Other books, like when it comes to your basic superheroes like Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, and all the other superhero characters, it's what they stand for and what they represent, what they do in their stories. And that kind of gives you like that more what the comic books mean and what they feel and what, kind of you can relate. They give you situations like where you can say, hey, something like that's happened to me, or on a more moral sense, like for Superman's sake, it's truth and justice. He always stands for the truth, and he always wants to make sure that justice is served, but he doesn't believe in killing. So in a way that teaches people that you don't have to kill to get justice and to serve justice. With Spider-Man, his moral is with great power comes responsibility, meaning with all of his great power, there comes a greater responsibility. And recently in the comic book, same thing as Superman, he doesn't believe in killing anymore. Nobody dies. Even villains, pedestrians, all alike, he will not let them die. So in a moral sense, it kind of teaches values and things that you want kids and teenagers to read as they're growing up. But honestly, nowadays, comics have gotten a little bit more violent than they were back, say, in the 90s and the 80s. But looking over that part, there are still values and morals inside the comic books that if people look deeper, you learn something when it comes to certain superheroes. Other superheroes, you don't learn anything, really. It just depends what you're reading, and especially if you're a kid and, you're a parent or whatever, a parent definitely should be with their kids to get the book so that they can, first of all, see the rating on the book and also just to take a glance at what's in the book first. But there are a lot of different genres out there, so there's several different morals out there. Most are positive, but I can't say all are positive. There are some that are negative and whatnot. Economically, though, when it comes to comic books, originally it was just books, and the comic book started at like 10 cents. Nowadays, especially after 2001, the Spider-Man movie, comic books have reached out to movies, and even before Spider-Man, there were the Batman movies, the Superman movies. They tried with the movies, but comic books and the movies really didn't boom until, I'd say, 2001, because that's where Marvel just pulled out their stops. DC tried their luck with some of their movies, Hellboy from Dark Horse. A lot of comic books started reaching out to TV, movies, everything. So it definitely spanned out from just books to every which way you can think. So nowadays you can't do anything without it having some type of comic reference. If you go anywhere and find a story based off of a comic book, whether it be TV, movies, anything. And that's basically economic, on an economic stand.
Alright, now as for the specifics, let's talk about Batman, the superhero from the DC Comics company. First, has Batman influenced you as an individual at all? If yes, how so?
I would say Batman has influenced me. Not in the beginning. When I first started collecting comic books, I did collect Superman. But later on, you reach out to different genres, and yeah, I would say Batman did influence me a bit. You read the Batman comics, he's a detective. So most of his comics make you think and see things deeper than a normal person would. Because Batman's a detective, and he's a brilliant detective, and he's a millionaire, so he's got tons of gadgets. So you know that gadgets are what grabs kids, especially little kids. They love those little gadgets that flick around and light up and do all these different things. So, but when it came to Batman, he influenced me a lot because he always made you think outside the box. A lot of his stories were always, you had to think something else to get the conclusion, or you had to find out what the villain's motives were, or who was even involved in the problem that was in front of Batman. So yeah, Batman definitely influenced me to actually look deeper into things and not to just take things from the surface. You always got to dig a little bit deeper. to find the real true source, so to speak.
Now, let's move away from an individual standpoint. What's your thought and interpretation of how Batman has affected the world economically?
Economically, well, from the Batman comics, we have the 4 Batman movies, and then that was back with Michael Keaton, and the other 2 Batman, one was George Clooney, I can't remember the one from Batman Forever at the moment, and then we have the new one for Christian Bale, the trilogy that's actually concluding. Tons of cartoon series. Batman the Animated Series is definitely one of the most popular things that Kids WB or WB had. So economically, Batman's reached everywhere. I mean, you can't go into a store that's selling like kids' PJs or whatnot and not see Batman. Batman is just like everywhere. Even toys, everywhere. You can't miss Batman. He's just one of those characters, especially, that's loved from kids all the way to adults. People really admire Batman. So economically, he's everywhere, and it's a big franchise when it comes to Batman.
What about the world culturally?
Culturally, as I was saying, it goes back to how Batman kind of influenced me. With Batman, you always have to think outside the box, and it showed his origin, where his parents were murdered and everything like that. It shows how he took this dramatic thing that happened to in his childhood, and he grew into this superhero, basically, and he has no superpowers. So, in a way, it teaches people that they don't need superpowers to be a superhero. Batman's completely average. There's no superpowers to him whatsoever. He's just a normal person with a bunch of training and a bunch of gadgets. So, culturally, he teaches a lot. He's a very, like I say, he's very well loved from kids to adults, and it's a lot. And he makes you, his comic books, especially the older comic books, made you think. His books were not just books, they were mysteries, and his villains were completely nuts. And yet here he is, an average guy in a bat costume, saving the world, basically.
Finally, what about morally? Has he had a good moral effect or a bad one? And why do you think he has had the moral effect that you think? So, let's start with the first question. How has Batman affected the world's morals?
Morally, Batman has influenced a lot of things. As I said, he shows that you don't have to be a superhero or a super person to be able to save the world. He's just an average person. He's a normal guy, yes, dressed in a bat suit, but at the same time, this is a billionaire, kind of like Iron Man. You could a lot of people compare Iron Man and Batman because both of them are millionaires, both of them have high-tech gadgets, and both of them basically, in a sense, are doing the exact same thing, heroing. And it actually morally it shows that the average person can do anything. That's number one. Number two, there's more than just the surface to the problems. You have to look beyond the surface. You have to dig deep if you want to find the real truth to your problem. Basically.
Do you feel he is a positive effect or a negative effect on the world's morals?
Absolutely positive effect.
Why do you feel that way?
I mean, there's nothing negative. I mean, when you think of Batman, there's really nothing negative you can come up with. I mean, first of all, he had a very dramatic past. Both of his parents being killed when he was only like about 5 or 6 years old. Grew up a millionaire, basically, but there's really nothing negative you could say about Batman. He never kills. He's just a really great character or a role model, especially for kids growing up. That's my opinion. I mean, a lot of people can argue, yeah, he's a recluse, he's a crazy man running around in a bat suit. But, you know, if you look beyond the suit and you look at really what he's doing in the world and everything, you can't help but agree that it's a positive effect. Reading or anything other than that.
What superhero, then, has had a more positive moral effect on the world? How does his/her approach differ from that of Batman? And by that I mean, why are they a more positive role model than Batman?
Interview, it would be Superman, and I've read him since the beginning of my comic collecting. When it comes to Batman and Superman, the major difference is Batman, most of his career, his way of solving a crime or defeating the bad guys, he trusts no one. And the major difference there between him and Superman is Superman always trusts everybody. Even if he's being lied to, he'll trust them. He's very naive. Whereas Batman is more along the lines of he trusts nobody. Even if they're the most trustworthy person in the world, he won't trust them. Superman's willing to give that benefit of a doubt. Batman's more of a detective. It's actually mentioned in several comics where it's Superman and Batman together. Batman's the detective, Superman's the Boy Scout. Superman doesn't believe in killing. With all of his superpowers that he has, he's never hurt or killed anyone in his career. And when I say this, I'm talking about, anything I talk about is basically post DC prior to DC Comics New 52 or their relaunch in 2011 that just happened. This is all stuff from the universe before that, because I haven't really been reading much into the new universe. So I'm talking about the older universe. That Superman was always a kind-hearted person. Batman worked off of fear, whereas Superman works off of hope. So the only negative thing, the strengths that Batman has are opposite from the strengths Superman has. And when it always came to me, I always liked superheroes that promoted more hope than striking fear into the hearts of villains and super villains everywhere.
So let's recap. What would you say Batman has done for the world as a cultural icon?
Batman has done a lot for the world as a cultural item. I mean, once again, comic books are pop culture, and Batman's the epicenter. A lot of superheroes, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, the ones that we grew up with as kids. You and I grew up with Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, all these other cartoons that were on TV, the movies that were in the theaters before we were born, after we were born. He's had a huge impact on the world culturally because, you know, who doesn't know who Batman is? And what he stands for and everything like that. So I'd definitely say Batman, as well as many superheroes, have had huge impacts on the world in a whole.
Well, Chris, thank you for your time and allowing me to interview you today.
My pleasure.
Alright. See you, Chris. That's Chris, everybody. I think we learned a lot today about Batman. Even though he's been my favorite superhero, I never realized how much he's contributed to the world. I would like to thank my friend Chris for allowing me to interview him. Credit goes to BoxOfficeMojo.com for the stats of how well the various Batman movies did. Finally, thank you for watching. See ya.